So we're back at the Treasury Building for the last time this series. And if you've been around, you know we've been here at the Treasury Building because we've been talking about money. Because this whole series, we're talking about coins. And this series, Coin Flip, is all about how faith has two sides. There's the side of faith, things we feel so connected to God about, things we believe with all our hearts, and doubts and questions. Because sometimes faith has both of them. All the time, faith has both of them. And the Treasury is a place where like all they do is money. They're like the headquarters of money in America. I couldn't think of a better place to be. But as we close this series, I was thinking about the mentors I've had in my life. A guy like Dr. Olds. So when I was in middle school and high school, Dr. Olds was the pastor at my church, kind of like Pastor Matt here. They didn't look at all alike. Dr. Olds was kind of an old guy. Old. He had white hair, and he had a big booming voice. That's not at all how it sounded, and that was terrible. But I'll tell you what, sometimes I fell asleep during his sermons. So if you ever fall asleep during one of Pastor Matt's sermons, like you've got good company. But I'll tell you what I loved about Dr. Olds. Two things. One, that guy loved Jesus with everything in him, and he died from cancer a few years after I graduated from high school. And man, the faith that guy had was amazing. It was something that I wanted in my life. The other thing I loved about Dr. Olds is when I was in high school, I was part of a high school guys small group. I talk about this a lot. And Dr. Olds came and visited us one time. He didn't have to do that. Like, he had a lot of things to do. It was a big church. And he wanted to come spend a small group night, a core group night with some high school dudes. And he sat there for 30 minutes, and we just got to sit there and ask him questions for an hour. He talked about preaching. He talked about growing up in a small town in Kentucky. He talked about when Jesus became real to him. He talked all about his story of faith. And I was inspired by it. I still think about some of the things he said. Things like Jesus ought to comfort us and challenge us. That both of those things are a part of who God is and how Jesus should affect our lives. But what's also true is that we all need mentors like Dr. Olds. We all need people who are pushing us, challenging us, people whose faith we can look up to. People who can help us put some practices into our lives that help cultivate faith. Because faith can feel like a coin flip so often. It can feel like something that we're sure about one day and then don't know much about the next day. We have a bunch of questions one day and the next day feel like we couldn't be more connected to Jesus. But I know, if I know anything about faith, it's that I can't do it alone. And I've been so lucky to have mentors in my life, like your core group leaders, like your pastors, people who want to invest in you. And if there's anything that I've learned over my life following Jesus, it's to put people in my life who are encouraging me every day.